Okay, so you want to own a laundromat. It's the internet's favorite boring business, the poster child for passive income. You buy a room full of washing machines, you collect quarters, you swing by once a week to empty the coin boxes, and the rest of the time, the machines just run themselves. No inventory that spoils, no employees to babysit, no customer you ever have to talk to. People call it mailbox money, a slot machine you own instead of play. A whole online ecosystem sells you exactly that dream. Jordan Berry's laundromat resource, Dave Menz, the self-styled laundromat millionaire. Podcasts and courses built on the promise that a rack of washers can quietly pay your mortgage while you sleep. There are somewhere between 17,000 and 30,000 of these stores across America, depending on who's counting. The Coin Laundry Association puts the number near 29,500, and every one of them looks, from the sidewalk, like the same simple deal. Put quarters in, get clean clothes out, and the owner takes a cut of every spin. Here's the first surprise. The washing machines are almost beside the point. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why the person who owns that laundromat isn't really in the laundry business at all. Because here's the thing, almost nobody standing in a laundromat ever realizes. A laundromat is not a laundry business. It's a utility arbitrage machine bolted to a piece of real estate. What you actually own is a small private utility company, one that buys water, gas, and electricity at wholesale municipal rates, marks it up more than tenfold, and resells it to people who don't have a washer at home. The clean clothes are just the delivery mechanism. The spin cycle is just the vending machine. The real product is the spread, the gap between what a load of laundry costs you in utilities and what the customer pays to run it. Keep that one idea in your head. Every number you're about to hear only makes sense once you stop thinking about laundry and start thinking about arbitrage. Let's talk about the price of the ticket. Building a laundromat from scratch runs, according to lenders like North One and NAV, in 2025, somewhere between $200,000 and $500,000. In an expensive market, ground-up construction can climb past $1 million. Some builds are quoted as high as $3 million once you're pouring concrete and running new utility lines. And most of that money does not go where you'd think. It goes into metal. A single commercial front-load washer costs between $1,000 and $6,000. Higher-end brands like Continental Gerbau run $4,000 to $7,500 per washer, $3,000 to $6,500 per dryer. A typical store packs 20 to 100 of them into a space of 1 to 5,000 square feet. Fill that room, and you've spent close to $300,000 on machines alone, before a single customer walks in. Then add the part nobody photographs. The machines don't heat their own water. Commercial washers pull from a central system, so the store needs a commercial water heating setup of its own, typically $5,000 to $20,000 and past $30,000 on a big build. The entire business runs on hot water you have to pay to heat, which is exactly why most people who get in never build at all. They buy an existing store, already plumbed, already collecting quarters, typically for $200,000 to $500,000, and skip the 12 months of permits and construction entirely. A running laundromat sells for 3 to 5 times its annual cash flow, so buying one is really just buying a proven spread instead of gambling on an unproven address. So notice what you're really buying here. Not a brand, not a product, a room, a rack of metal boxes, and a very large water heater. Which raises the obvious question, why does anyone pay that much for washing machines? And the answer is, they're not really paying for the washing machines at all. Once you open, the meter starts, and it's a literal meter. Every load that runs pulls water from the city, heats it with gas or electric, spins it with power, and drains it back into the sewer. Utilities are the single largest ongoing cost in the entire business. Across the industry, water, gas, electric, and sewer eat somewhere between 20 and 30% of every dollar the store takes in. That's the figure operators and analysts like Metrobi and KMF business advisors cite for 2025 and 2026. Then comes rent, typically 5 to 10% of revenue if you signed a smart lease. And if the store runs unattended, which many of them do, labor rounds down close to zero. That's the strange shape of this business. In a restaurant, food and labor eat 60% of every sale. In a laundromat, your biggest cost isn't people and it isn't product. It's the water bill. You are, functionally, a reseller of your local utility company. And that one fact changes everything about how the money works. Here's where the model finally reveals itself. Run one ordinary load in a top-loading washer, and the water, gas, and electricity to do it cost the owner roughly 20 cents. That's the per-cycle utility figure the laundry industry breakdowns put on a standard load. 20 cents in. Now, look at what the customer pays. A single top-load wash on the street today runs $3 to $5. A large front loader, $5 to $7.50. And the oversized machines, the ones that swallow a whole comforter, $8 to $12 a turn. 20 cents of water, gas, and power goes in. $3, $5, $8 comes back out. That is the entire business in one sentence. You buy utilities at wholesale and you resell them, one spin cycle at a time, at a markup most retailers only dream about. The washing machine isn't the product, it's the vending machine. And the thing it vends is water, heat, and power. Bought by the gallon and the kilowatt, sold by the load. Multiply that spread across a few hundred loads a day, in a neighborhood packed with people who don't own a washer, and you don't have a laundry business anymore. You have a tiny utility company with a spin cycle. A good store runs a few hundred of those loads every single day. Call it 200-300 turns between the washers and the dryers, and the spread compounds with every one of them. The Coin Laundry Association pegs the whole industry's gross at nearly $5 billion a year. And almost all of it is built on that 20 cent to $5 gap. So why is this the business every side hustle podcast will not shut up about? Because, and this is the honest part, the machine is genuinely durable. 3 reasons. First, it barely blinks in a recession. The Coin Laundry Association says it flat out. Coin laundries thrive in periods of both growth and recession. When money gets tight, people don't buy a washer. They go to the laundromat. When COVID shut the economy down in 2020, laundromats were designated essential businesses and stayed open while restaurants went dark. Dirty clothes don't care about the business cycle. Second, the assets last. A commercial front-load washer runs 15 to 20 years, sometimes 25 with maintenance. Speed Queen has tested its machines past 10,000 cycles, roughly 2 decades of hard use. You buy the metal once, and it prints for 20 years. That's exactly why the machines are almost incidental. They're not the business. They're just the durable pipe the utility flows through. Third, when the location is right, the numbers are real. A typical store nets a 20 to 35% margin. Call it 28 on average, per Metrobi's 2025 figures. Owner cash flow on a single store commonly lands between $80,000 and $160,000 a year, according to operators like Regalis Capital. Payback in 3 to 5 years. Annual returns quoted at 20 to 30%. And if it's unattended, you really can run it in a handful of hours a week. The Coin Laundry Association's own operator surveys put roughly 15 to 20% of stores as fully unattended, with no staff on site at all. That part isn't a myth. It's just the smallest part of the story. But there are teeth in this deal, and they bite the people who believed the passive income brochure. The first trap is the one that can kill the whole thesis. Your spread is at the mercy of the utility company. You don't set the price of water. The city does. When your municipality raises water and sewer rates, and they have almost everywhere, your cost of goods goes up, and your 20-cent load quietly becomes a 30-cent load, while the sign out front still says $3. Every rate hike compresses the exact spread the whole business depends on. The second trap is location, and it's brutal. This model only works where the customers don't own washers. The demographic playbook, from Planet Laundry and the Coin Laundry Association's own research, wants a neighborhood that's at least 30% renters, ideally 50, with 12,000 or more people per square mile, and household incomes between $15,000 and $50,000. Put the exact same machines in the wrong neighborhood, one where everybody has a washer-dryer in the unit, and the arbitrage just evaporates. You didn't buy a business. You bought a room full of idle metal. The third trap is the absentee owner fantasy. Passive holds right up until a machine floods, a coin box gets pried open, or the water heater dies on a Sunday morning. Unattended stores get vandalized, and card systems, which most stores are now adding at $200 to $2,000 a machine to convert, bring their own 3 to 5% processing fees. The income is semi-passive. The plumbing never is. And the fourth trap, overpaying on the way in. Laundromats sell for 3 to 5 times their annual net cash flow. That's the Coin Laundry Association's own valuation range. Sellers know their store's numbers look their best right before they sell, and a store's income is only as honest as its water bill. Buy on a seller's inflated collection count, and you'll spend years discovering the real spread was thinner than the spreadsheet said. Let's run the plain arithmetic on one store. Say it's a solid 40-machine location doing $20,000 a month. Right in the middle of the range analysts cite for a store that size. Call it $240,000 a year in gross collections. Now the utility bill, the true cost of goods for a utility reseller. At 25%, water, gas, electric, and sewer takes $60,000 right off the top. Rent at 8% is roughly $19,000. If you staff it, labor runs 15 to 25% of revenue, say another $48,000, which is exactly why so many owners run unattended and drive that line towards zero. Then insurance, maintenance, card processing fees, and a repair fund, a few tens of thousands more. What's left on a well-run store lands right around that 28% margin. Call it $60,000 to $70,000 of owner cash flow on $250,000 in collections. On a $300,000 purchase, that's a payback in roughly 4 to 5 years, then a durable cash stream for as long as the machines and the neighborhood hold up. But notice what every one of those numbers hinged on: the size of the spread and the number of loads, not the laundry. The utility markup times throughput. Change the water rate or the foot traffic, and the entire model moves under your feet. So picture the two versions of your life as an owner. In the good version, you did the one thing that actually matters. You bought the right location. 30+% renters, dense, no in-unit laundry for blocks. You ran it unattended. You added a card system and watched the average ticket climb, and the store turns 400 loads a day. $30,000 a month in collections, a clean 28% falling to you, and you spend 6 hours a week emptying machines and reading the water bill. Payback lands inside 4 years, and by year 5, you're shopping for a second store. Because the whole game, once you understand it, is just repeatable utility arbitrage, one building at a time. In the other version, nothing dramatic goes wrong. You just bought an average site instead of a great one. The neighborhood has more in-unit washers than the broker let on, so throughput sits at half of what you modeled. The city raises water rates twice in 3 years. That 28% margin quietly compresses toward 12. You're still technically profitable, but you're also unclogging a drain at 11 at night, for a return an index fund would have handed you for doing nothing. Same machines, same quarters, a completely different business, because the location decided the spread, and the spread decided everything. And that's the real answer to whether a laundromat is the easy passive income machine the internet promised. It can be, but never for the reason anyone thinks. You are never buying a room full of washing machines. You are buying the right to sell your city's water, gas, and electricity back to your neighbors at a markup, one spin cycle at a time. The quarters were always beside the point. What you actually own, if you own the right one, in the right place, is the smallest utility company in town, disguised as a place to wash your clothes.